Welcome to Miles Ahead, the Canadian Points Podcast, brought to you by FrugalFlyer.ca, where we talk about all things miles and points, a hobby that allows us to travel all over the world in style and on a budget. This episode will cover all recent points and miles news, along with some questions from you, our loyal listeners. As per usual, I'm joined by my regular co-hosts, Josh and Jeff.
Happy to be back, Danny.
Yep.
Happy to be here.
A new month.
Yes. A new month, a new set of questions, and a brand new look for the host of the Miles Ahead podcast. We are recording this right at the end of November to give you the most up-to-date news, even though this is the December episode of the show. Movember is still happening for my workplace. So here I am with a full Magnum PI look ready to go. If you are only a listener and not a watcher, maybe time to tune in on YouTube and have a look at this one. So I think our first biggest piece of news comes from the Hilton ecosphere. And Jeff, what do we have going on with Hilton? They've completely changed their loyalty program.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say they've completely changed it, but they've added a new tier, a new highest tier, and they're calling it Diamond Reserve. So for those that were into U.S. credit cards, they will probably know that Hilton Diamond was the top tier status, which was obtainable by holding the Hilton Aspire credit card. That's no longer the case. You will no longer receive Hilton's highest tier status. They have a new status called Diamond Reserve. And the only way to get it is by spending at Hilton properties. And that spend is $18,000 USD in a year, or 80 nights completed and 40 stays. So you actually have to stay at the hotel to receive any of these perks. And the perks are, I think, okay. You get a confirmable upgrade reward, which is similar to what Hyatt offers, where you get a confirmed upgrade to a suite usually at the time of booking. That's different from Marriott, where you have to wait till it's roughly 3 to 5 days before you arrive before you find out. This award allows you to confirm the upgrade at the time of booking, which is nice. And also you get a guaranteed 4 p.m. late checkout, which is, I think, pretty nice too. Not having to haggle with the check-in agent. Kind of nice, knowing that it's guaranteed, but that's kind of it. I don't think this is great, in my opinion. I'm personally not going after this. How about you guys?
Not a chance. We have a short article coming out tomorrow, once this episode is posted, about this, and that was kind of the conclusion that I came to. Was it's really not meant for miles and points people. Nothing wrong with that. It fills a void for sure, but it's just not obtainable. It's most likened to kind of the Marriott Bonvoy ambassador level, which is something none of us would really chase in the first place. But I did think there is some good news. We're not seeing any changes to existing status levels right now, which is fantastic. Diamond is the same, gold is the same. And actually, for people who don't earn it via credit cards, they now have a lower requirement to earn those levels, which is fantastic as well. So there's less nights required. Of course, we'd always recommend take the path of least resistance, hold the credit card, just get the level of status. Frankly, there's no reason to not. But the fact the rest of the program stayed the same, I think, is a rarity and fantastic so far. So I'll take that as a win.
Yeah, I agree with both of you guys. I think that only the true road warriors are going to benefit from this. There's no way that a guaranteed 4 p.m. late checkout and a confirmable upgrade reward are going to be worth anybody mattress running this status. But it's nice that Hilton has lowered the requirements for everybody else and added a tier that goes above and beyond the credit card, because I personally found it difficult to find a reason to stay at Hilton's. Like, I do mattress runs pretty regularly to keep up with elite status and whatnot. And Hilton was like, oh, I have the Aspire card, so I'm not going to really make an effort to stay at a Hilton. I'm going to use my Marriott. I'm going to try and get more elite nights with Marriott rather than, stay at a Hilton that might be $50 cheaper. But it's worth it to me to have that elite night for an extra $50. So I think it's good. All around, not a major change, but nice for the people that are actually staying 80 nights in a year. Get a little bit more recognition. The next piece of news we have is all about Atmos Rewards, which if you haven't been paying too much attention to Alaska Mileage Plan, they have rebranded themselves after their merge with Hawaiian as Atmos Rewards. So if you're used to Alaska miles, they are now called Atmos. So that's what we're talking about here. And they are on sale with a mystery bonus. So you'll have to log into your account and see exactly what your price is, but the price to purchase miles can be as low as 1.88 USD cents per mile. So just under 2 cents per point, which I think could have some good value. But this is a nice tie-in for Josh to talk about his recent approval for one of the brand new Atmos credit cards.
Yeah, so with this relaunch, previously Bank of America had Alaska Airlines Visa cards. They now have Atmos Rewards credit cards. I recently actually got one of these cards and wrote an article about it on Frugal Flyer. I was able to apply over the phone as a non-resident and got instant approval. I've already received the card. I'm already close to finishing spending on it. I ended up grabbing the Summit card, which is 100,000 Atmos rewards after spending 6K USD. And it's been fantastic so far. Like Danny said, Atmos rewards, similar to how Alaska miles were, are a crazy valuable currency. Very hard to earn for what it's worth, but there's always great value in using them for porter flights. I recently booked a Condor business class flight from Calgary to Frankfurt for 55,000. There's a ton of good redemptions on there, and the pricing is really good. There's hardly any fee to cancel. It's very, very minimal. And the taxes and fees are pretty damn low for what it's worth. Mm-hmm. So there's very few programs that, we'd really talk about considering buying points, but this might not be a bad one if you kind of know what you're going for and what you want to redeem. And you still have some time to do it. A little bit less than a month left. You have until December 23rd, 2025 to make a purchase if you want. So like Danny said, log in and see what bonus you got and see if it's a good fit.
Yeah, so I don't think I'll be buying points during this promotion just because I don't have that many Atmos Rewards redemptions coming up. But the one thing that is good to keep in mind is that hopefully in the next 6 months or so, Atmos Rewards is going to launch the ability to book multiple partners on one itinerary, which is going to make these points even more valuable because Atmos Rewards is part of the One World ecosystem, and the One World ecosystem has no connections within Canada. So right now, if you want to fly, for example, from Edmonton to Montreal and then take Q Suites from Montreal onto Doha and the rest of the world, you have to book a positioning flight. And that is going to change once you're able to book multiple partners on the same ticket, where you'll be able to find porter space from Edmonton to Montreal, have it all connected on one ticket, and you won't have to deal with that stress of positioning flights and all the craziness that can go on with them. So Atmos Rewards, one to watch going forward. That's not the only point type that's on sale, though. We also have Aeroplan points that are on sale. And I'm less enthused about this, even though it's strange to say as a Canadian, we should be all about Aeroplan points being on sale and how great they are. And I think my sentiment is kind of shared with the team. I see a few nodding heads in there that we're probably not going to be purchasing Aeroplan points. But Jeff, why would we maybe look favorably upon Atmos, as we just pointed out all the great things, and not so much on this Aeroplan point sale?
Yeah, it simply comes down to Aeroplan points are just way easier to get. There are every transferable points currency that's in Canada or the United States, you can transfer Aeroplan points to. That's not the case with Atmos Rewards, which means they're a lot harder to come by. There's tons of co-branded Aeroplan cards. There's just so many more avenues to earn a boatload of Aeroplan points that I've never found it necessary to buy Aeroplan points. I know people that do, and if you're able to buy them at a reasonable rate and you redeem for business class, you can often get excellent value for doing that. So it just depends on your use case, but in most circumstances, I've never needed to buy Aeroplan points, and I honestly can't really envision a scenario where I ever would.
Yeah, very well put, Jeff. And I think the next episode that's going to be coming out after this one about shopping portals will highlight that, because there are so many ways to earn Aeroplan points through shopping portals in Canada, or even through Rakuten down in the US, which transfers to Amex MR. And then combine that with the fact that unless you're redeeming for business class, like Jeff said, you're typically only going to get 1.7 cents per point Canadian for most sort of domestic flights that are in economy class. So if you buy them for 1.9 and redeem for 1.7, you're not winning, right? Not to say that Aeroplan points are bad, but they're easy to get through other forms than just buying them. And the cost of them is not a guaranteed home run that you are going to get more value like Atmos rewards are. I would say almost guaranteed, especially for Canadians booking Porter through Atmos rewards. 7,500 miles I just booked. Winnipeg, Toronto, New York City. And that was, I think, $19 in taxes and fees. And that flight would have otherwise cost me $250 one way. So an insane value, way more than the 1.88 USD.
Yeah.
Cannot beat it. Cannot beat it. More news in the One World ecosystem. We've got a new carrier that is coming to Canada. So Iberia Airlines, who has a fantastic sweet spot between the East Coast of the US and Spain, where they're the national carrier of, is now going to be flying to Toronto. So it's going to be the newest plane that Iberia offers starting in June 2026. So it's a single aisle or narrow body lie flat business product. I think I'm pretty excited for it. What do you think, Josh?
Yeah, I think it's great to see another route. I've kind of not seen the best things about Iberia economy for what it's worth. So probably not a road I'd go down personally. Again, everyone's their own traveler and can make their own choices.
Yep.
Do what's best for you. But I've heard good things about the business class. I haven't had the chance to fly it. I've actually never really flown a lot of narrow body lie flat business class either. So it would be neat to try out. From what I've seen, and we did a little bit of digging, the pricing looks pretty good on business class. Jeff, I know you looked into it. What have you found?
Yeah, so first off, availability I thought was pretty great the first few days that this became available. Flights are starting next summer, I believe, June, July. I don't remember exactly. But availability was pretty good. And pricing, you can go through Alaska Atmos, American Airlines, and of course, British Airways and Iberia's own Avios programs, which are the three kind of main ones that we have access to in Canada. And pricing is really good across the board. For Alaska, you're looking at around $27,500 for economy, $55,000 for business class. Perfectly reasonable. For American Airlines, it's a little bit more, so I probably wouldn't go that route. You're looking at $30,000 in economy and $57,500 business class. And for Avios through British Airways and Iberia, you're looking at 16,000 points in economy, which I think is a really, really, really attractive sweet spot because honestly, the flight from Toronto to Madrid is not that bad. I think it's probably only a 6 or 7 hour flight. So if you don't mind toughing it out in economy, that's an absolutely awesome price.
Yeah.
And it's 40,000 in business class, which is still a really good price. And both of those are off peak. You're going to pay more for peak pricing, but I probably lean towards going the Avios route. If you're looking to book those, you're going to pay a bit more taxes and fees, but the redemption rates are excellent.
Yeah.
Wow. And I mean, we factor in our favorite 30% transfer bonus that happens from RBC pretty much semi-annually. I wouldn't say it's guaranteed, but at least once a year, we're going to get a 30% transfer bonus from RBC to British Airways. And that 16,000 points in economy becomes 11,000 pretty quickly. And you can fly from Winnipeg to New York for 7,500, now Alaska miles, or you can fly from Toronto to Spain for 11,000 RBC points. So pretty absolutely spectacular that Iberia has come to North America. And definitely worth checking out. If you're trying to get to Europe next summer and you're having trouble, this is a route that not a lot of people are going to know about. Points and miles people will know, but you're not going to have random people filling the seats on this. So I would hope that at least if you could be flexible with dates, you should be able to find some availability. Because, Jeff, you were able to see availability for all of these. These were real searches that you found, not award chart pricing, correct?
That's right. I did the search on Seats.aero, and there were tons of dates available. That was several days ago now, so I don't know what it looks like as we're recording, but yeah, availability was good.
Spectacular.
And
speaking of, go ahead, Josh. Yeah,
I was just going to say, how convenient is it not to jump in, but there's a transfer bonus right now from RBC to British Airways Avios. What are the chances?
Took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah, just
it's
excited
like
about it, you know?
It's almost like we planned it to talk about that
crazy.
first and then mention that we've got this RBC transfer bonus going on. But please introduce the bonus, Josh, considering you're so gung-ho.
I'm very, very passionate about it. It's so nice seeing this transfer bonus come up multiple times per year. It is one of the most consistent things in Canadian miles and points, I find. So effective about a week ago through December 19th, RBC points can be transferred to British Airways Avios with a 30% transfer bonus. So they normally transfer at 1-to-1, which is already really good value. But they now transfer at 1-to-1.3. So super easy to go in and do it. If you already have Avion points, you just go in and do it and do the normal transfer. You won't see the bonus when you fill out the transfer on there, but it will post on your Avios account once it goes through in a day or two. I think this is a great way to use your points if you have it. If you have something in mind, again, we don't really recommend speculatively transferring. Not usually the way you want to go with things. But I've transferred many points through these bonuses, and it's definitely something worth taking advantage. Are you guys doing the same, or what's your current plan with Avion?
Well, I don't actually have a lot of Avion at the moment. I am farming some more through creative spending at gas stations with the Ion Plus. But I don't have a lot at the moment. So I actually was doing some RBC product changing just as I was changing around my wallet and what I needed. And I had a very small balance of Avion points. And I decided to transfer to American Airlines when they had the small 15% bonus, which I think made it, like 1 equals 0.9 or 0.85 advantage miles. It was something like that. Yeah. So I decided to send about 20,000 RBC points to AA rather than wait for this promotion where I would have gotten, 26,000 British Airways points. Considering I already had a few 100,000 in my account, I wanted some more AA. So like Josh said, I don't think you should be speculatively transferring, but what are you going to do, Jeff? Are you planning on sending all your Avios or all your Avion, excuse me?
Yeah. So last time I did like you, I sent all my points to AA during the transfer bonus. And this time around, I think I'm going to do whatever balance I have, I'm going to send to Avios. I think even though like you guys said, we don't really recommend transferring without a specific redemption in mind, doing this with Avion points is usually the best way to spend these points, regardless of whether you have a redemption in mind, because they're probably going to come in handy at some point. So yeah, when it comes to RBC, I'm fine speculatively transferring just because it's the best use for these points.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I have done it in the past. I'm not sure if I'll take advantage of this transfer bonus, but I do view Aeroplan and British Airways as very similar in utility. You can just book so much stuff through all of them, whether you're looking to go Asia, Europe, South America, like there's carriers just due to the alliances they're a part of. So now, I wouldn't stack, a million Avios in hopes that you're going to use it, but you probably will find value in it. We are currently seeing an offer on the RBC Avion Visa Infinite card as well, which is one of the best ways to earn these points. It's 35,000 points just upon approval, which is fantastic. And it's, a super easy card to use and get those points from. So depending on when you apply, you might be able to get them before the transfer bonus wraps up.
Very good point. All right, on to our next piece of news, fairly quick one here. Marriott is now offering soft landings into 2026. meaning that if you naturally achieved a titanium level of status, you are not going to be dropped down to however many elite nights you achieved this year. You are going to be dropped down one status level to platinum, which is great for somebody that maybe had a lot of travel last year, but not so much this year. You're still going to get free breakfast at resorts. And, well, I shouldn't say at resorts, at a myriad of different brands that is part of a matrix of death that is impossible for anyone to figure out.
Except for
That
Jeff.
Jeff
Jeff did figure it out.
Jeff.
He wrote an article. We have an article. We'll share it. Yes, he did the math.
That's right. Yes. So if you are curious about which of your platinum status perks you are going to have applicable at which brand, then you can check out Jeff's article. I think this is like 3 or 4 years in a row, for sure, every year since COVID, that they've been offering soft landings. So
it's nice. Yeah, it's nice. Nothing negative about it, right? So love to see it.
Nope. So that's some good news. If you didn't have as many Marriott stays as you thought you would this year, and you still want to maintain some semblance of elite status, you're going to drop down one level. Some news from TD. They now have personalized offers in their app, very similar to Amex offers, which is nice to see some innovation in the Canadian banking space. It's been quite a while since we've seen some, well, I shouldn't say quite a while. The Porter BMO VI Porter MasterCard was an excellent addition to the Canadian points and miles space. And I think this is another great addition to the Canadian points and miles space. So one of the flagship offers, quote unquote, is spend $75 at a restaurant and get $10 back. So what does that math work out to? Something just under 15%, 16%. Yeah, something like that. So a nice little win. It's mainly, correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, but I believe this is mainly on bank branded cards. So things like the first class travel. Yeah. But I actually don't have a TD Aeroplan card right now. So I didn't check any of those to see if we have Aeroplan cards issued by TD that also have personalized offers. Do we know any information on that?
I don't have any either.
Yeah, me neither.
I'm a little TD
Listeners?
Aeroplan shy, to say the least. So.
Yeah. Listeners, we are depending on you. If you want your 5 seconds of fame on the Miles Ahead podcast, let us know if you have any personalized offers with your Aeroplan cards. All right, our next piece of news, just a couple more before we get on to our questions of the month. The Air Canada Cafe Vancouver is now open. So I haven't actually visited that one yet, but I have visited the other three. Yeah, that's right. The other three that are in Canada. So we've got one at Toronto Pearson Airport, which, fun fact, was actually the very first lounge I ever visited when I got into Miles and Points. We also have the Billy Bishop Air Canada Cafe Aspire Lounge joint venture. That is probably one of my favorite lounges in Canada. And then I recently got a chance to visit the Air Canada Cafe Montreal Trudeau, which was very busy considering that the Maple Leaf Lounge there is currently undergoing some renovations. But they're all very nice. The grab and go aspect of them is fantastic. So Jeff, the next time that you're flying a domestic Star Alliance connection, I guess that would only be Air Canada. The next time you're flying Air Canada out of Vancouver, you'll have to snap some pictures and let us know. Or maybe Andy can get on that for us.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to checking it out. If anything, hopefully it can alleviate some of the pressure on the Maple Leaf lounges, which I find, especially in the domestic terminals, to always usually have a wait.
Yeah.
So hopefully it helps. So yeah, if all you care about is a coffee and a spicy Thai chicken wrap, then hopefully this will fill the need.
Yes. Yeah, and the one thing I will say is that the Air Canada cafes have done a much better job of having a personality. So, for example, at YTZ, Billy Bishop Airport in downtown Toronto, they've got jerk chicken and rice as one of the main dishes available there. And if you know anything about Toronto, the Caribbean and Jamaican culture and fusion food is a huge part of that city. So nice that they've added that. And then at the YUL location, they had Montreal smoked meat sandwiches that you could pick up and take along with some Montreal style bagels. So a little bit more personality than the corporate overlords that rule the Maple Leaf lounges. All right, moving on to our second last piece of news, the Air France KLM status match. So this is an interesting one for two reasons. we've seen that the platinum status tier with Air France KLM does have better award pricing and also more saver availability. So if you're unfamiliar, Air France KLM offers 60,000 points at their saver rate to get from North America to Europe. And not to shout out another resource, but 1 Mile at a Time did an excellent job of actually comparing these saver rates. And it is astonishing just how much more at least was available when they looked at the site. You've got basically an entire month of availability versus 2 days. So you do have to pay for this status match. But if you've got Aeroplan 75K or above, you can match into Air France KLM Platinum status and get access to all that amazing award availability. But that's not the only benefit. Jeff, what else can we book with Air France KLM Platinum that you can't if you're just a regular status member?
Yeah, so the big one is Air France La Première, which is what they call first class. It's only available through the Flying Blue program, and you can only book it as a platinum member. This is Air France La Première is probably, I'm going to say, the most difficult to book first class out there currently. It's supposedly incredible, especially if you're flying from Paris. I'd obviously love to do it one day. See what happens. Probably not going to do a status match for it, though. I'm not even close to Aeroplan 75K, and earning platinum status with Air France is going to be tricky for me.
Yeah.
Yes. Definitely suits the folks that already have some form of 75K, or if you've got some creative ways to status match around between, let's say you're a Hyatt globalist from spend on the Hyatt business or personal card, then you can get yourself into AA status. That Hyatt often runs temporary status matches to that. Then take an AA Executive Platinum and match that to Air France KLM. There are ways to quote unquote churn your way to Air France KLM status. So, Josh, any thoughts before I move on in this?
No, it's probably not something I'll pursue, but just want to echo being creative with status matching can go a long way. So
it certainly can.
I'll just quickly say,
Yes.
if you do want to fly Air France La Première, it's probably going to be cheaper to just book a business class ticket and then pay to upgrade into La
that's true.
Première rather than going through all of the hassle to try to earn all these statuses, because you're probably just going to end up spending more doing it.
Yeah.
Yes. The only trouble with that is you never know whether La Première is going to be sold out on your flight or not, because
Yes.
they only have 4 seats that are available. The one thing to note specifically, if you want to go for a cash upgrade on any Air France KLM ticket, even if you're going from economy to business, is that check-in and upgrades open 30 hours, not 24 hours before your flight. So if you're looking to do any sort of an upgrade, 30 hours is the trick there. And be ready to upgrade at 30 hours, because if you go through the check-in process, you have to then uncheck yourself in, go through that whole thing, and then recheck in again to hopefully find the same offer. So be ready with your credit card. Hopefully you have a minimum spend to hit as you're doing your credit card, or as you're doing your check-in upgrade. All right, I lied. There's actually 2 pieces of news. I apologize. This episode is going to be published on Friday, November 28th. And November 29th is the deadline for the Aeroplan eStore Black Friday deals. And as I mentioned a little bit early in the show, we are going to have an episode coming out next all about shopping portals. And this is the best shopping portal deal of the year, I think, for Canadians. Would you guys echo that sentiment?
Yeah, unmatched.
Yeah. So Simon's, actually to use a real life example, let me back up before I just blurt out a retailer. 18X is basically the details here. And I was just doing some Christmas shopping and was able to get 18X as I am a Aeroplan card holder with American Express, and I'm a status member. And then there's the 10X retail. So it is extremely valuable to shop through the Aeroplan eStore right now. So I was able to get 18X on a variety of purchases, particularly through Simon's. They're a Quebec retailer, for some Christmas gifts. If you're looking for any everyday qualification points, this is a fantastic way to do that. Spend $1,000, get 18,000 Aeroplan points in return, and also 18,000 EDQ. So yeah, in summary, the 18X is going to be a spectacular opportunity, particularly if you're out for some EDQ. The last piece of news that we have for this episode before we get on to questions is going to be Chase Inc. or Chase Business Card Lifetime Languages. Believe it or not, I actually don't have any Chase business cards. I've been hitting the Amex train pretty hard. So Jeff, I think you're the biggest purveyor of Chase and their business card ecosystem. What do we have going on here?
Yeah, so previously you could just open these cards with pretty frequent regularity with no issue. You could have multiple of the same card, and you could quite often get approved. And it seems like Chase is adopting something similar to what Amex has with their pop-up, stating that you can continue with the application, but you may not receive the welcome bonus if you've already held the card or currently hold the card. So this is brand new. We don't have a lot of information on this yet, but there's some data points on Reddit especially that I've seen where people are just saying, yeah, they're applying for a card that they held previously, a Chase Inc. business card that they held previously, and are getting a pop-up stating that they may not be eligible for the welcome bonus, which is kind of a bummer because these cards were like really consistent. It was oftentimes you could get 90,000 Chase Ultimate Rewards for no annual fee, which is an incredible deal. And obviously people have been going pretty hard on that. So it's kind of understandable that Chase is adopting this because you could abuse this pretty heavily, which I'm sure people did.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. We've seen a slight decline in Chase and how much they are looking at repeat bonuses, particularly even for referrals. So in the past, you could still get a referral bonus when you referred somebody to a business card, even if they've had one before. And now you can only get a referral bonus if that person has never had a Chase business card before. So things are changing, but things always change in this hobby. So, for example, we've just seen 300,000 points offering on the U.S. Business Platinum card in incognito mode and all this stuff. So one door closes and another one opens.
Sure.
And we keep getting more sign-up bonuses. The sky is not falling. We just have to look up a little bit more often.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And speaking of U.S. credit cards, this is an excellent segue into our first question of the episode, which is from Wendy. And Wendy, we apologize we didn't get to your question sooner. It's something that we've been thinking of an answer for because it's a challenging question to answer. Wendy says, I am a dual U.S. and Canadian citizen. I recently moved from the U.S. to Canada. Welcome. We are happy to have you. I want to continue in the U.S. credit card market, but I'm trying to figure out the rules around this. Do I have to straight up lie on applications and state that my country of residence is still the U.S.? Or will American companies give cards to those who live elsewhere? In other words, you mentioned that I need an American address. Is this just for mail purposes, or is it to claim that it's my residential address? Thank you very much. I think, Josh, you might want to weigh in on this first because you just went through this with the B of A Atmos card. So what did you put for your address with that application over the phone?
Yeah. So, let's just cover it straight out first. It's a gray area. I will say that anything with U.S. credit cards is a little bit of a gray area. So when I applied with Bank of America over the phone, I did provide them with my U.S. address, but I did say that I'm a non-resident. So they know I'm Canadian, they know all that, but I did provide them with a U.S. address. I think a good rule with this, and again, gray area, everyone's level of comfort and risk is different. You most likely will need to state your U.S. address on any applications for U.S. cards in order to be eligible. And sometimes reading between the lines is the answer that you're looking for there. So, not really a great way around it. Yeah.
No, not really a great way around it. You will just like a requirement of having an ITIN or an SSN for many cards. Having an address that is a state rather than a province is also just a straight up requirement of these cards. So whether it's worth it to you to take on that risk, I don't know of anybody that has seen consequences from that risk. Not to say that we provide financial advice or are telling you need to do one way or the other, but I personally have not seen any terrible things happen except for maybe you get a card closed, which will lead into our next question. But have you guys seen anything crazy adverse happen for people that live in Canada but put U.S. addresses on their applications?
Personally, no.
I've never heard anything either.
But I treat it no different. Cards are paid on time. You know what I mean? Like I'm the perfect customer in my eyes, right?
Yes.
So that's all I aim to be.
Definitely agree. Well, maybe not the most profitable customer.
Correct. I said perfect, not profitable, but I agree.
So that will lead us into our next question, also about U.S. credit cards, from Robert, who submitted on the podcast form. He says, been listening to the pod since the beginning. We very much appreciate you, Robert. Thank you for being here. He's since gotten into U.S. credit cards in that world, and he's been using our ITIN service, the ITIN service, as well. Started with the Hilton Honors cards, just got a Bonvoy Bevy card. However, in October, he received a letter from Amex requesting him to verify his U.S. address with his Hilton card. Called the number on the back of his card and was told to submit a utility bill, and that his bank statement would no longer be accepted as a utility bill. Does he know? Do we know what might be happening to him? Is this just bad luck? Time to close the card and move on? He's using 24/7 Parcel as his mail forwarder. Is there a utility bill workaround? Well, we've got a few comments here. Jeff, you haven't had some airtime in a minute. What do you think we should recommend Robert do?
Yeah, so I think this is just a consequence of using a very public mail forwarder. Amex has clearly caught on to what's going on. I think that much is very evident when they see a large contingent of cardholders all at the same address. That's obviously going to raise some red flags. There's not really much to suggest. If you can't work in a utility bill somehow, which I guess is unlikely, our suggestion would be to find another address. And I know that's probably not going to be easy, especially if you don't have many connections in the U.S. or you don't live near the border. It's going to be tricky. But that would be my recommendation. Find a different address. They're out there, ones that aren't public. So that would be the route I would go. I'm sorry, we don't really have a more definitive answer for you on what exactly to do, but it's a tough situation because it's worked so well for so long for so many people, and now it appears that this door may be closing for a lot of Canadian U.S. credit card holders.
Yeah, and it's like a slow door closing, but it is definitely shifting. Similar to Jeff, I've seen reports, whether on Reddit or certain Facebook groups or red flag deals, of similar things going on here. Jeff hit it on the head. It's the really popular ones have had problems. We saw something similar with Capital One and having issues with Planet Express. For anyone who is using that, again, very public and well-known mail forwarder. I'm going to throw a bit of a curveball in here. If you did find a new address and you updated your account, I'd probably try to submit a bank statement, even though they said utility. I like to, if your back is up against the wall and there's nothing else you can try, I'm a big, advocate of trying something. But unfortunately, this is not a question that we can answer and say, oh yeah, just do this and it'll be solved. It's kind of a tough corner to be in, frankly.
Yes. Yeah. I was even using 24/7 Parcel just because we've been moving around so much. And for new listeners, Robert, you've been listening since the beginning, so you know my situation. But for new listeners, I do live in the U.S. about 3/4 of the time. However, we're constantly moving around with my wife's work. So rather than updating my address constantly, I was actually using 24/7 Parcel just as like a constant address to get things sent to. And even up to last month, I still had it listed there. But we're going to be a little bit more stable now. So this month, I updated my address and I didn't have any issues. So I think if you're using 24/7 right now, might be good to look at some other options. And if you don't know what those are, a good opportunity to attend our Frugal Flyer meetups. Talk to Jeff and see where he might be sending his mail and if he's willing to share that information with you. And he probably
Maybe.
is.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. So, Robert, I hope that answered your question. If it didn't, feel free to write in the podcast form again. So, moving on to our next question from Landon. Landon submitted this through the podcast form, and he says, I think I heard on a recent podcast you are planning an upcoming episode on the elite tier credit cards, like the Visa Infinite Privileges. Can you go over the perks like the hotel collection and dining stuff? I've looked at them, but it seems to me that those benefits are just access to extremely expensive hotel rooms and very expensive meals. I haven't searched extensively, but in my opinion, hotel rooms are places to sleep, and why bother spending more time than you have to? Maybe I'm missing something with this perk. Thanks for the great podcast series. Well, thank you for listening, Landon. Jeff and Josh have less experience with this than me. I have never used the hotel collection from Visa Infinite Privilege, but I have used the dining series. We only did one experience. It was Mildred's was the restaurant in Toronto when we lived there about 3 years ago. It was a Valentine's Day dinner. I want to say we paid like $90 a person, maybe $110 a person. So it is a fancy night out. But they had a somm from Veuve Clicquot with some exclusive champagnes and an amazing meal with a great host that explained exactly what we were eating. And it was incredible for what they were able to serve us, considering there were about 100 people that were dining at the restaurant. It was a set menu, so if you're not a foodie, might be not the best experience for you, but we certainly felt like we got a personalized, lovely experience for, $200. And actually, it wasn't $200 including tip, because the $90 that we paid included gratuity already, which was really nice. So we got a spectacular meal that was better value than the $90 per person. But if you're not into fancy dining and you'd rather go to Five Guys, you're not going to get any benefit out of that. The one thing that I do think is excellent value is the wine collection. So we are, I wouldn't say huge wine people, but we can definitely appreciate a good bottle of wine and a good tasting. And the buy one, get one free or even complimentary tastings that come as part of the Visa wine. I can't remember the actual name for it, Visa Wine Collection. That's not what it is. But if you just type in Visa Wine Canada into Google, you'll find it. We probably need to have an article on that. Spectacular value, where normally you'd be paying $27 for a tasting. Here you're getting buy one, get one free. So $13 a tasting, basically. And you are getting some spectacular wines in great settings at Niagara on the Lake. And they also have locations out in BC as well. So we're scrolling through and seeing what's available, but some amazing value. If you're into wine tasting, even if you're not, I think if you just want to go and have a lot of drinks, excellent value for that. So hopefully that answered your question, Landon. And that will bring us to the end of this episode. Thank you for listening to this episode of Miles Ahead. We appreciate you tuning in. If you have any feedback for us, or if you want a question to answer on air, you can enter your information on the podcast form at FrugalFlyer.ca/podcast. If you have a rating and a review that you'd love to leave for us, the reviews in particular help us tremendously. That's all for today. Bye, everybody.